It was a sunny afternoon when John and Emily, a couple from rural America, arrived at the beach house they had rented in Búzios, a small coastal town in Rio de Janeiro. With their typical simplicity, they sought a quiet refuge from the hustle and bustle of life in rural America. The house, a rustic construction overlooking the calm sea, seemed perfect for their needs. As they entered, they were greeted by a cozy atmosphere illuminated by the golden rays of the setting sun filtering through the weathered wooden windows. The simple, locally styled furniture added a special charm to the environment. Emily, a history enthusiast, was delighted with the local ceramic decorations and the paintings by Brazilian artists adorning the walls. John, always more practical, quickly inspected the doors and windows to ensure everything was secure for their stay. He noticed nothing abnormal, beyond the inevitable charm of the old, well-maintained house. The couple unpacked and settled into the master bedroom, where the wide and comfortable bed promised peaceful nights of sleep. As the sun slowly set on the horizon, they sat on the balcony, toasting with a glass of wine to their luck in finding such a picturesque refuge. It was that night that the first signs of something strange began to manifest. While enjoying a light meal in the kitchen, John noticed a faint noise coming from upstairs. It sounded as if someone were walking lightly in the attic, but upon investigation, he found only emptiness and silent darkness. Emily, on the other hand, began to feel an indescribable presence around her. It was not a conscious fear, but a feeling that they were not entirely alone in the house. She casually mentioned this to John, who attributed the sensation to travel fatigue and adjusting to the new environment. However, as the night progressed and they prepared for sleep, the noises intensified. Shuffling footsteps echoed through the empty corridors, interspersed with subtle sounds of whispering voices that seemed to come from outside, blending with a gentle murmur of waves breaking on the nearby beach. What began as a tranquil adventure on the Brazilian coast would soon turn into a terrifying experience, as the sinister secrets of the beach house in Búzios began to reveal themselves in the shadows of the night. On the second night in Búzios, the couple was awakened by a strange sound echoing through the corridors of the beach house. Initially, John thought it was just the strong wind banging against the weathered wooden windows, but as they became accustomed to the local environment, they realized there was something more sinister in the air. The noises started softly, as if objects were being moved around, followed by subtle footsteps echoing throughout the house. Emily, awakened by a sudden chill down her spine, listened attentively to the sounds coming from upstairs. It was as if someone were walking with light and irregular steps in the attic, leaving a trail of tension in the air. John, always the pragmatic skeptic, tried to reassure his wife, attributing the sounds to local wildlife or perhaps even to their own imagination under the impact of the new environment. However, as the night wore on, the sounds became more persistent and inexplicable. During breakfast the next morning, they found the kitchen table slightly disheveled, as if someone had rummaged through things during the night. Although no items seemed out of place, the feeling of an invisible presence began to intensify. The serene atmosphere of the beach house was now tinged with an air of mystery and unease. Emily, always curious and determined to uncover the truth behind the strange events, discreetly decided to ask the neighbors about the history of the house. What she discovered was disturbing. Reports of supernatural activities dating back decades, including sightings of shadows at windows and whispering voices in the wind. As the next night fell over Búzios, the couple found themselves increasingly embroiled in a web of mystery and fear. What had begun as a quiet getaway was turning into a harrowing experience, as ancient secrets of the house began to unfold in the nighttime shadows. As the days passed in Búzios, John and Emily began to notice a disturbing pattern among the local residents. During their walks through the small town, they encountered fleeting glances and interrupted conversations when approaching the neighbors. Emily, always open to new friendships, tried to initiate some conversations, but was met with brief and evasive responses. The few who were willing to talk revealed unsettling stories of unexplained events, haunting not only the house John and Emily had rented, but the entire region. Reports ranged from sightings of dark shadows moving swiftly at night to inexplicable noises echoing through Búzios' quiet alleys. Some claimed to have heard whispering voices in strange languages, while others swore they had seen ghostly figures watching from afar. John, increasingly concerned for Emily's safety and the sanity of the situation, tried to maintain a rational perspective, but the strange events around the beach house could not be ignored. The atmosphere of fear and paranoia slowly grew among the residents, forming a web of secrets and suspicions that hung over Búzios. As night fell again over the town, the nighttime sounds intensified. John and Emily began to draw the curtains earlier, fearful of what they might find outside. The feeling of being watched, of something sinister surrounding them, did not leave them even in moments of apparent calm. As the horror story unfolded, John and Emily found themselves increasingly entangled in a web of mystery and terror, struggling to find answers in a place where the supernatural seemed dangerously intertwined with reality. As supernatural events in Búzios intensified, John and Emily decided to cut short their stay in the town. Determined to leave behind the mysteries that haunted their stay, they hurriedly packed their bags, hoping to escape before the worst happened. However, fate seemed to conspire against them. Just as they were ready to leave, the car they had rented developed inexplicable mechanical problems. John, frustrated and increasingly suspicious of the strange events around him, tried to fix the vehicle, but his efforts were in vain. Meanwhile, Emily noticed suspicious movements around the beach house. Indistinct shadows seemed to watch her from afar, while inaudible murmurs echoed through the night winds. The atmosphere of tension was at its peak, and the feeling of being trapped in a place where the supernatural reigned was palpable. Desperate, they sought help from the few local residents who still dared to speak with them. However, the answers were vague and evasive, as if the inhabitants of Búzios knew more than they were willing to reveal. Every attempt to find a solution to their problems only led them deeper into the mystery surrounding the seaside town. In the height of frustration and fear, John and Emily began to question whether they would escape alive from that mysterious place. What had begun as a tranquil adventure had turned into a desperate struggle for survival, as the dark secrets of Búzios slowly unfolded before them. With each failed attempt to escape, John and Emily saw their hopes slowly fade away. The atmosphere around the beach house became increasingly oppressive, with sinister shadows moving at the edge of their vision and indistinct murmurs echoing through the night. On a moonlit night, when fear reached its peak, Emily, exhausted and fearful, succumbed to the temptation to investigate the hidden secrets that Búzios held. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and fatalism, she followed a dark trail that seemed to lead her towards the heart of the mystery enveloping the town. John, realizing too late the imminent danger, tried to stop her, but was hindered by forces that seemed beyond his control. He watched her disappear into the darkness, leaving him alone with his doubts and fears. What happened next is a mystery that John cannot explain to this day. He wandered the empty streets of Búzios, haunted by shadows that seemed to follow his every step, until finally finding help in a strange fisherman who took him back to the United States. John's return was marked by deep physical and mental scars, as memories of that fateful night haunted his dreams. He never saw Emily again, nor did he discover what happened to her on that fateful night. Búzios, for John, became a place of nightmares and unfathomable secrets, where the line between reality and fantasy blurred under the weight of the supernatural. What had begun as a quiet trip had turned into a journey of horror and loss, leaving him with unanswered questions and a grim certainty that some mysteries must remain buried in the depths of Búzios.